See, in this today's class, we shall discuss about the various types of sewage disposal methods, and as per your syllabus, it is kept as the next part, that is low cost sewage treatment methods. Okay, so now let us see what is this low cost sewage treatment methods. Okay, so there are various techniques of low cost waste water treatment methods. So out of that we have previous dry systems, okay, wet systems, decomposition systems, oxidation ponds, soak pits, septic tanks, oxidation ditch or oxidation ponds. Okay, see, these techniques depends upon the quantity of wastewater, the area which is to be served, and also the presence or absence of the sewerage system present in a area. Okay, so for example, previous and this wet system and all, so it is made for a community toilets in a village or a town where around few people have common toilet systems. Okay, so previous are used along with the septic tank arrangements. Okay, so then wet systems involves the flushing of the water systems. Okay, then we have decomposition systems. Okay, nowadays you might have seen something called as e-toilets or dry toilets, so which are being placed in the smart city initiative works at various places like parks and all, where you don't have proper sewerage system. Under that circumstances, we have this dry system of the toilets. Sometimes it is also called as e-toilets and all, which you can see in the various parks of our own city. Okay, so then we have something called as oxidation ponds or oxidation ditches. Okay, so we will see that in detail how it works and what is the thing. And soak pits are provided for multi-story apartment buildings where there is absence of sewerage system, or for some new areas which are under development where the municipal authorities may not have connected or yet established the sewerage network. Under that circumstances, or else you have to construct a house or something on a very in a valley kind of place or a hilly area where you cannot provide the sewerage system, which is very far away from the network of sewerage system. Under that circumstances, we will go for the septic tank and soak pit arrangements. Okay, then what is this oxidation pond? Okay, see, oxidation ponds are low cost wastewater treatment methods. Okay, so if land is available at a cheaper price, then we will usually go for this oxidation pond. See, oxidation pond is a artificial pond which is basically designed to treat the sewage and degrade the industrial waste. Okay, so it is just a pond, okay, similar to your lake or a pond, but it is artificially constructed to degrade the sewage. Okay, so in presence or absence of air. Okay, so this, they have long detention periods extending from a few to several days. The released effluent can be directly used for irrigation in semi-arid areas and water scarce region. Okay, then in this technique, the organic matter load and suspended solids and also pathogen removal is found to be good. Okay, sometimes due to increase the aeration activity, so we will give the aeration from a external source by providing aerators. So then it is called as aerated lagoons. Okay, so know that oxidation pond, oxidation ditch and aerated lagoons are simultaneously used. If it is a simple pond, then we call it as an oxidation pond. It is just similar to your natural lake. Okay, but it is artificially constructed to treat the wastewater, to degrade the wastewater over a period of time. Okay, and make it less harmful, and that water can be used. That is called as oxidation pond. Okay, so in case for the same pond, if we give some external aeration to increase the rate of degradation, that is to get the faster degradation and background organic matters at a faster rate, then we call it as aerated lagoon. Okay. Sometimes they are also used in the tertiary step in the wastewater treatment plants as a polishing kind of technique. That means we have primary treatment, we have secondary treatment, and at the end we have the tertiary treatment technique. Okay. So if you provide the oxidation pond under such circumstance, then it is called as the maturation pond. Okay. It is like a polishing treatment which is done at the end of the primary and secondary treatment methods. Okay. So what exactly happens in this oxidation pond is, okay, it is a natural process. Okay. So it occurs due to the symbiotic relationship between algae and bacteria. Okay. So to understand the concept of this oxidation pond, so we have to understand the biology which is involved in this process. Here what happens is, if you have a pond like this, okay, so we will discharge the raw waste into this pond. Okay. So here what happens, due to the presence of the sunlight, okay, the algae will start to grow. Okay. And this algae, what it will does is, so in the wastewater, so you have the organic matter, and also you will have some bacteria which are present in the water as well as this wastewater in the pond. Okay. So what it does is, so these bacteria, okay, so they will, in the help of the settled sludge, so it will degrade the organic matter present in the sewage. Okay. So while degrading this process, okay, so the oxidation takes place. Because of this, we get the carbon dioxide and water as the end products with the formation of the new cells. Okay. So now this carbon dioxide which is emitted or which is given out due to the oxidation of the organic matter by the bacteria which is present in this wastewater, so this carbon dioxide is taken up by the algae, okay, in the formation of the new cells with the liberation of the oxygen in presence of sunlight. So this relationship we call it as symbiotic relationship. It means, so these two processes go hand in hand. Okay. So that is, this bacteria will depend on algae and this algae will depend on bacteria for carbon dioxide. So this bacteria will depend upon the oxygen, in presence of oxygen, to degrade the organic matter. So that's why it is called as a symbiotic relationship, and this oxidation pond works on this principle of the symbiotic relationship between algae and bacteria. So algae, in presence of this sunlight, okay, so they use the oxygen which is given out by the bacteria, okay, which is given out the carbon dioxide which is given out by the bacteria, okay, and with the help of photosynthesis the new cells are generated. Okay. And at the bottom, the whatever the degraded organic matter is there, so that will be settled at the sludge. Okay. And it will also give methane as the end product which gets liberated from this pond. Okay. So this is how the treatment takes place in the oxidation pond. Okay. So based on the aeration process, these ponds are again further classified as aerobic ponds, facultative ponds, anaerobic ponds, aerated lagoons, and maturation ponds. Okay. So based on the availability of oxygen, they are classified into these three types, and these maturation ponds are the ones which we usually provide at the end of the secondary treatment methods in case of sewage treatment. Okay. So here first we have something called as aerobic ponds. Okay. So these aerobic ponds are shallow ponds with depth less than 0.5 meter and BOD loading of 40 to 120 kg per hectare per day, so as to maximize penetration of light throughout the liquid depth. Okay. So this sunlight penetration is equally important in this case, because the algae has to use sunlight for the photosynthesis to give out the oxygen by taking the carbon dioxide which is given out by the bacteria present in the wastewater during the process of oxidation. Okay. So here the stabilization of waste is brought about by aerobic bacteria. Okay. So here, since it is open to air, the depth is kept less so that the maximum penetration of the sunlight takes place along with the proper mixing of the oxygen naturally. Okay. Here the oxygen demand of the bacteria in such pond is provided by algal photosynthesis, and this oxygen is utilized by bacteria for oxidizing waste organic matter. Okay, so this process we call it as algal symbiosis. Okay, so this I explained in the previous stage, okay, in the last slide, where these algae and bacteria, they work hand in hand to stabilize the organic matter. That process we call it as symbiosis, or it is also called as algal symbiosis. Okay, so that means this algae will depend upon the carbon dioxide which is given out by the bacteria during oxidation process. Okay, using this carbon dioxide, so the algae will, with the help of sunlight and photosynthesis, it will give out the oxygen, and that oxygen is again taken up by the bacteria for the oxidation process, and this process is continuous, and that is called as algal symbiosis. Okay, so this is how it, this, due to the wind action, the oxygen gets mixes with the water, and with the presence of sunlight, this algae will give out the oxygen, which is in this oxygen is taken up by the bacteria and protozoans, okay, which is present in the waste water, and it will degrade the organic matter or stabilize the waste in presence of air. Okay, and that the degraded organic matter will settle at the bottom, okay, as sludge. In this process we get the end product as ammonia, nitrates, water and carbon dioxide. Okay, so this is called as aerobic oxidation ponds. Okay, so similarly we have another type called as facultative points. Okay, so these points function aerobically at the surface. Okay, the aerobic zone, whatever the aerobic process which takes place, it takes place in this aerobic zone. Okay, so then we have something called as facultative zone, then we have anaerobic zone. Okay, these ponds are relatively deeper than aerobic ponds. The aerobic pond depth varies from up to 0.5 meter. Here they are about 1 to 2 meter in depth. The top layer, since the depth is large, much of sunlight will not enter, and also air will not enter at the bottom layers. So that's why at the bottom layer, at a deeper depth of around up to 2 meters, so we have something called as this anaerobic zone. Okay, and above we have facultative zone, so it is partly aerobic and partly anaerobic, that's why it is called as facultative zone. And the top layer, it will act as aerobic zone. So here both the process takes place. Okay, that is aerobic as well as anaerobic decomposition takes place. The end product of this aerobic decomposition is carbon dioxide and water. Okay, so in case of facultative anaerobic zone, so we get carbon dioxide, methane and water as the end products. Okay, so that is the difference between aerobic and facultative. Okay. So whereas coming to anaerobic oxidation pond, so here it operates under completely anaerobic conditions. Okay, so the characteristics of anaerobic ponds are, so they are generally deeper than aerobic as well as facultative ponds. It depth varies from 3 to 6 meters. Okay, so here the waste stabilization is brought about by the anaerobic bacteria. Okay, here what happens, the organic matter is degraded by anaerobic decomposition. Okay, the organic matter is broken down into simpler end products with the process of anaerobic decomposition. Okay, and due to this scum layer which is formed above this water surface, so the anaerobic conditions will prevail in the pond. Okay, because of this, in the absence of oxygen, the anaerobic bacteria will come into action and they will stabilize the waste with the liberation of ammonia, methane and hydrogen sulfide. Okay, so such ponds are constructed with a depth of around 2.5 to 5 meter, as light penetration is not important in this case, because here most of the work done is by the anaerobic bacteria. Okay, so these are different types of the oxidation ponds. Okay, so here you can see the different types of ponds. Okay, so this is the a central effluent channel. Okay, so these are the ponds which are located. So due to the whenever you have this some agriculture activity Okay, so it is a pre-treatment unit that maybe you can have the screening and all. Okay, in this case, and this is an anaerobic pond, so this can be a facultative pond. So it is an agricultural area, effluent is released into this pond. Okay, so at the end you may be having the maturation pond, that is after primary treatment, secondary treatment, so it is placed at the end. So it is, that's why it is called as a maturation pond, and these can be located far away from the city to avoid the odor issues and all, because these are simply open to atmosphere. So due to the process of decomposition and all, so it may give out the odor. So for that reason they are generally kept away from the cities. Okay, so what are the factors which affect the pond reactions? Okay, so it depends on many factors. Okay, like one among them is the wastewater characteristics and fluctuations. Okay, so the influent characteristics of the waste, which includes BOD, pH and its chemical composition and the type of the organic matter present, and it also depends on the solar radiation. That means the algal growth is directly proportional to the solar radiation and also light. Okay, so their algal growth patterns and their diurnal and seasonal variations. Okay, so this depends on the, because here we have a symbiotic relationship between algae and bacteria, so that's why the sunlight, temperature and algal growth are equally important for effective functioning of this oxidation ponds. And also bacterial growth patterns and decay rates, solid settlement, gasification, upward diffusion, sludge and its accumulation. Okay, so this is also equally important. Okay, so that is the bacterial growth patterns and decay rates. That means we should have the equal relationship between algae and bacteria so as to perform effectively and function this oxidation pond effectively with proper stabilization of organic matter. Okay, so what is the design criteria of this oxidation pond? Okay, so here the length of the tank may be kept at about twice the width. Okay, so usually in the oxidation ponds the length will be larger compared to the width, because the water has to come in enough contact with the air and sunlight. So that is the reason we usually keep the length relatively larger compared to the width. Okay, usually it is 1:2 in the ratio, okay, with respect to the width. Okay, so the depth may be kept between 1 to 1.5 meter. Okay, so this again varies whether it is an aerobic pond, anaerobic or facultative. Okay, so based on the design the depth varies. Okay, a free board of about 1.1 meter may also be provided above a capacity corresponding to 20 to 30 day of detention period. Okay, then organic loading. Okay, the permissible aerial organic loading for the pond expressed as kg BOD per hectare per day. Okay, so this quantity depends on the sunlight and the degrading capacity of the bacteria and the capacity of the pond. Okay, then it should be usually kept into in areas where the sky is very clear. Okay, and where nearly 75% of the days in a year should be of clear sky, so that it will avoid the odor problems. Okay, the suitable value of organic loading can be worked out, would be around 300 to 150 kg per hectare per day in tropical countries like India. Okay, and this should be usually the organic loading rate of the oxidation pond. Okay, so that is the strength of the waste is usually measured in terms of its BOD. Okay, and this is what the load for the tropical countries like India. Okay, if you go for colder countries, then the bacteria may not work that much effectively, because bacteria also need certain temperature and atmospheric conditions for its proper growth and development and for them to function effectively. So that's why for our conditions, for Indian conditions, the organic loading can be worked out of 300 to 150 kg per hectare per day. Okay, and the detention time usually varies from 7 days to 45 days or so. Okay, so there is a wide range. Okay, the 7 days is corresponding to the oxidation ponds to which we supply the oxygen externally. Okay, so the 45 days or up to 45 days or 1 month are the tank to those which are the natural ones. So in this case we do not supply any oxygen. Okay, so that's why the detention time varies depending upon the type of the tank. Okay, so here it is usually calculated by this equation, 1 divided by kd log base 10 L divided by L minus y. So here L is the BOD of the effluent entering the pond. So Y is the BOD removed, usually 90 to 95% of the L. Okay, so BOD removed will be of 90 to 95%. KD is the oxidation constant. Okay, deoxidation constant, it can be taken as 0.1 per day at 20 degree centigrade. Okay, so to get the detention time, okay, we can use this equation, 1 upon KD into log base 10 L divided by capital L minus Y. Okay, what are the advantages of this oxidation ponds? Okay, so these are suitable for hot climate. Okay, so where 200 sunny days are expected per year. So okay, that is I told you. So this process will work for most of the tropical countries like ours. Okay, so because if you have colder temperatures where you don't find much of sunny days, under such circumstances these ponds may not work effectively and it will cause problems like odor and mosquito menace, etc. Okay, and these are best suited for small cities and towns where the land is cheap, because it requires more land. Okay, where you have the land cost is cheap, and for smaller cities and to serve the smaller population without much use of labor, machinery, pumps, etc., this is well suited. Okay, here the capital cost is only 20 to 30% of conventional plant. That means if you want to construct a sewage treatment plant which involves lot of excavation work, the construction of concrete tanks, then pumps, then other biological treatment units, so it is a costly affair. Okay, so here in this case it is relatively cheaper, and maintenance cost is minor because it does not involve any pumps or any other appurtenances. That's why, so it is just a pond. Okay, maybe with or without the supply of the oxygen, and no skill supervision is required. Okay, and flexible, and it will get upset due to sudden fluctuations in organic loading. Okay, so the disadvantages include the mosquito nuisance and also bad odor. Okay, since you have the open pond, so there is a problem of mosquito breeding, and also it will give out the bad odor. Okay, so that is the disadvantage. Then we have something called as oxidation ditches. It is also called as extended aerated lagoons. Okay, so the oxidation ditch consists of a ring or oval shaped channel equipped with mechanical aeration device. Okay, like I told you sometimes, so we make this process more effective by supplying the air externally. Under that circumstances, this is called as oxidation ditch, which is shown in the figure here. Okay, so here in this case the activated sludge is also added to the oxidation ditch so that the microorganisms will digest the BOD in water. So externally we supply air, and also we supply the sludge, that is the active microorganisms, to stabilize the waste present in the wastewater. Okay, so the mixture of raw wastewater and return sludge is known as mixed liquor. Okay, it is called as mixed liquor. Okay, so here it consists of a setup which is as shown in the figure. So this is the unit which contains the bar screen. So from this the wastewater enters. This is called as inlet, and this is the oxidation ditch. Okay, as you can see, the length of the travel is relatively large. Okay, so this is because the oxygen should come in good contact with all the water for the treatment to take place effectively. Okay, so it consists of the floater, okay, rotor, so which will be moving, and we supply oxygen to this oxidation ditch. Okay, and this effluent from this oxidation ditch will go to the clarifier. Okay, so in this clarifier the sludge will be settled and the effluent will be taken out. Here what we do is we will take the part of the sludge. This is called as return sludge pump. With the help of sludge pump we will take the activated sludge, that is, so this is taken to improve the process here in case of oxidation pond, that is, we will put some activated cells or activated bacteria into this oxidation pond to make it more work effectively. Okay, so we will also supply oxygen and also we will give out some bacteria to maintain the food to microorganism ratio here to degrade the waste effectively. Okay, so these are typically, they have long retention time and they are capable of removing between 75 to 95% of BOD. Okay, so that means if you have the BOD of around 200 mg per liter in the effluent, okay, so this can reduce up to 70 to 95%. Okay, so that will reduce the BOD in this range. Okay, see, this is the 3D image. You can see this is having the diffusers here. Okay, and we also have the DO sensors to measure the level of oxygen in this. Okay, the sewage will enter from this. Okay, and it will keep on circulating here. Okay, this is the flow direction, this is the diffuser which supplies oxygen. So this is the sensor which is placed, okay, with a float holder which is as shown in here. Okay, so this will give out the amount of dissolved oxygen. Okay, if the oxygen concentration is keep on varying, so then we will we can control the air here. Okay, if oxygen required is more, if the organic load is more, then we will increase the aeration process. If the oxygen is sufficient, we can lower the quantity of air supply to this system to make it more effectively. Okay, and this is the oxidation ditch. Okay, so now let us have a look in for a video which will show you how this actually works. Okay, so this is a rotor kind of mechanism. You can see this is the oxidation ditch here. Okay, so the purpose of this rotor brush is to have enough contact with the air. Okay, so this is how the oxidation ditch work. Okay, you can see the two units which are placed. Okay, so this is under standby now and this is under working condition. Okay, so this is the rotor, okay, which is provided. As you can see, it is sharing the water molecules into smaller droplets. Okay, so this helps the water to get enough contact with the air so that the wastewater gets treated effectively. Okay, so this is how the oxidation ditches work. Okay, so next we have something called as septic tank and soak pit. Okay, a septic tank is made up of RCC or brickwork which can be located outside the house. Okay, the toilet used with a septic tank also has a U-trap water seal. Okay, so it is a tank which is made up of RCC to dispose the waste. Okay, as it with the aqua brevis, septic tanks can be used to dispose of grey water and must be periodically emptied of sludge. Okay, they also require the use of soak field for the secondary treatment of effluent. Septic tanks may have two chambers to separate and promote further settlement of liquid and solid, etc. Okay, like in the beginning I told you, this is also one of the low cost water treatment methods. So septic tanks are usually constructed at the places where the area is not covered with the sewerage system, or else you have a new construction and you don't have the proper sewage connectivity, and you may have constructed a house in a valley or a hillock where you cannot provide the proper sewerage system, or if pumping is required, under such circumstances we will provide this septic tank. Okay, so it is a tank which is as shown in the figure here. Okay, so usually it will be sometimes below the ground. Okay, here the waste from your house or single house or a multi-story apartment or a building, or for small cluster of houses of around 1 to 20, so we use this septic tank. So depending upon the capacity it is designed. Okay, here the waste is allowed, so it is having the baffle walls. Okay, it is a septic tank with the two chambers. Here the waste will enter into this chamber, and this is the access hatch, and this is also one more access hatch which is at the top. Okay, it is like the cover to the septic tank. Okay, here the waste will be allowed to settle here. Okay, and also due to the presence of water and under anaerobic conditions, the waste will be decomposed and the scum layer will be formed at the top, and the water waste will enter to the second chamber, and it is separated by the baffle wall like this, which is constructed in between, and this is the 2-chamber septic tank, and the effluent is taken out. Okay, so next to this we will be usually having the soak pit where the water gets filtered into the adjoining soil layer. Okay, sometimes it is also connected to the perforated pipes and through which the water enters into the adjoining soil. Okay, and that can be also used for the irrigation purpose or some vegetation over the soil. Okay, so this is the septic tank. Okay, so how this septic tank works? Okay, so here these septic tanks, what happens is under these tanks the lighter solids including grease and fat, it rises to the surface of the sewage to form the floating scum. Okay, so the scum and the sludges so formed are then retained with the sewage in the tank for several months, during which they are decomposed by the process of sludge digestion. Okay, and also the volume gets reduced, like it is working under completely anaerobic conditions because it is underground basically, most of the times, and it is a sealed tank which is separated with the help of a baffle wall in between. Okay, and there is reduction of the sludge which is going to happen, and here it is working under anaerobic conditions. Okay, so there will be release of gases like carbon dioxide, methane, and the effluent, although it is clarified to some extent, it will still contain considerable amount of dissolved oxygen, and it is it works under completely anaerobic conditions. Okay, so and this is how this septic tank works under anaerobic conditions. Okay, and this is what I was telling you. This is the tank which is constructed below the ground. Okay, and you have this scum about the top, and the wastewater gets degraded and it is allowed to the soil absorbing field. This is also called as soak pit. Okay, so through this perforated pipe the water will enter into the adjoining soil, and here you can have this vegetation which is grown. Okay, so these are also called as soil absorption systems because they treat the effluent from aqua previs and septic tanks. Okay, so it contains the soak pit along with the septic tank systems and also the soil absorption system. So it contains the pipes which is perforated, and it is from this the water will enter to the adjoining area. Okay, and this is how it is constructed. Okay, so depending upon the type of the area which is served, or the single house or the community houses or the apartments, so based on the usage we will construct this soak pit. Okay, so we'll stop in today's class. So we'll discuss the things in the next class. So sanitary hygiene is very important for a healthy disease free society.